The smell of broiled steak drifts through a tiny Venice apartment at midnight. A protein shaker rattles in the dark. On the wall, black and white photographs of men who look like gods. They smile for the cameras, flex for the magazines, and sign autographs at Muscle Beach. But they never told you the whole truth about how they ate. Some it was too strange. Some it was too extreme. And one of them, you'll meet him around number 10, had a diet so controversial, so against everything bodybuilding preached, that when word got out, it nearly destroyed his credibility forever. Tonight, you're stepping into the private kitchens, the late-night diners, the backstage dressing rooms where these legends really lived. Because the bodies you admired weren't just built in the gym. They were built at the dinner table, one secret meal at a time. And what you're about to discover will change everything you thought you knew about old Hollywood muscle. Number 1. Serge Nubret's Mythical Meat Mountain. Paris, 1970. In a dim kitchen that smells like iron and charcoal, Serge Nubret sits down at dinner. On his plate, 2 kilograms of meat. This isn't his only meal. There'll be another one later, just as large. By the end of the day, Serge will have consumed somewhere between 6 and 8 pounds of pure animal flesh. In his early years, it was horse meat, dense, dark, nearly impossible to find. Later, beef, but always in quantities that seemed mythological. While other bodybuilders spread their protein across 5 or 6 meals, Serge preferred to feast. 1 or 2 massive sittings, usually in the evening, where he'd sit alone with a mountain of meat, rice, beans, and nothing else. No protein powders, no supplements for years. Just real food, he insisted, eaten in amounts that would make a normal man sick. His waist stayed tiny, 27 inches even at his peak. But his arms, his chest, his back seemed to belong to a larger species of human. The secret wasn't just the quantity. It was the ritual, the Parisian discipline, the strange, almost meditative act of eating enough meat to feed a family, alone in the dark night after night. When people asked how he maintained such size, Serge would smile. "I eat," he'd say. And that was all he'd give them. The real number, for kilograms, he kept to himself. Until now. Number 2, Dave Draper's tuna and water descent. Picture a small apartment in California, 1960s. The blonde bomber sits at a table with nothing but canned tuna and a glass of water. Not for one meal, for days, sometimes a week. No cottage cheese, no eggs, no vegetables. Just tuna, straight from the can, and water to wash it down. This was Dave Draper's secret weapon when he needed to get shredded fast. A diet so extreme he'd later write about it with dark humor and warning. But in those days in that apartment, it felt like some kind of monastic test. How long could you suffer? How far could you push before your body gave up? At his biggest, Dave ate over 5,000 calories a day, 500 grams of protein, hamburger patties, chicken thighs, bananas, potatoes, eggs by the dozen. Then, when the camera called, he'd swing in the opposite direction. Tuna, water, silence. The psychological whiplash was part of the process. From abundance to deprivation. From pleasure to punishment. Most bodybuilders chose moderation. Dave chose the extremes, like he was daring his own body to quit. It never did. But decades later, when he talked about that tuna and water diet, you could hear something in his voice. Respect for what it accomplished, and a warning about what it cost. Loneliness tastes like canned fish at midnight, and Dave Draper knew that flavor better than most. Number 3, Vince Gironda's Cream and Eggs Rebellion, North Hollywood. Inside the gym, they call Vince's the Iron Guru stand behind the counter, blending something that looks more like dessert than bodybuilding fuel. Heavy cream, raw eggs, protein powder, sometimes a banana. The mixture is thick, rich, almost obscene in its calorie density. This is Vince Gironda's famous protein drink, and it's the opposite of everything modern nutrition would teach. Vince didn't care. He also created the steak and eggs diet. 2 meals a day, nothing but steak and eggs, almost zero carbs, years before keto became a word anyone knew. His secret wasn't just the food. It was a rebellion. Vince believed carbohydrates made you soft, bloated, undefined. He wanted movie star bodies, not powerlifter bulk. So he pushed high-fat, high protein, low carbs, and his champions, men like Larry Scott, followed him into that strange territory. They drink these cream-based shakes that tasted like liquid silk, consuming thousands of calories in minutes, then train with an intensity that bordered on violence. Other gyms mocked it. Other trainers said it was dangerous. But when Vince's athletes stepped on stage, their physiques looked different, tighter, more aesthetic, almost Grecian. The secret was the fat, the cream, the eggs, and the absolute conviction that everyone else was wrong. Vince died believing that. And when you look at the bodies he built, it's hard to argue. Number 4, Larry Scott's maximum nutrition madness. The first Mr. Olympia didn't win by accident. Larry Scott won because he discovered Rio Blair, and Rio Blair discovered heavy cream. In a small kitchen in Southern California, Larry would blend these shakes. 2 cups of Blair's milk and egg protein powder, whole milk, heavy cream, raw eggs, sometimes banana, until the mixture was so dense a spoon could stand in it. For quarts of milk per day, cream by the pint, the goal wasn't just protein. It was maximum nutrition, maximum calories, maximum everything. Larry's arms were 20 inches, and they were built on liquid fat. Between the shakes, he ate normally: steak, egg, potatoes, vegetables. But those cream-based concoctions were his engine, his secret fuel source that nobody else seemed willing to stomach. The taste was rich, coating your mouth, sitting heavy in your gut. Most men took one sip and quit. Larry drank them like water. At Vince's gym, the formula was passed around like some kind of alchemical recipe. How much cream, how many eggs, what time of day. Larry's secret wasn't just following the recipe. It was having the stomach to sustain it, day after day, shake after shake, until his body had no choice but to explode with size. Maximum nutrition, he'd say, maximum results. And looking at his arms, nobody could argue with the math. Number 5, Franco-Columbia Sardinian cheese plate. Mid-afternoon, Gold's Gym Venice, 1974. While the other bodybuilders slammed protein shakes and wolfed down chicken breasts between sets, Franco-Columbia opens a small container. Inside, imported cheese from Sardinia, fresh grapes, walnuts, maybe some cured meat. He eats slowly, deliberately, like he's back in his village instead of sweaty California gym. The other guys don't understand. Franco grew up with bread, cheese, wine, olive oil, rustic Mediterranean foods that had nothing to do with American bodybuilding dogma. Even as a pro, he refused to abandon that foundation. His secret wasn't just a cheese plate. It was a philosophy behind it. Franco thought about digestion, enzymes, food combinations, nutrient density. He wrote an entire book on bodybuilding nutrition, exploring ideas most meatheads never considered. Between meals of lean meats and vegetables, he'd have these moments of European indulgence. A piece of aged cheese, some fruit, nuts. It looked like a snack. It was actually a statement. You could be strong and still eat like a human. You could build a Mr. Olympia physique and still honor where you came from. Franco's body was American in size, but Sardinian in soul. And that cheese plate, dismissed by the steak and eggs crowd as too soft, too fancy, was his quiet rebellion against the idea that bodybuilding meant giving up joy. Number 6, Reg Park's 8-pint milk mission. Imagine a movie set in Rome, 1961. Reg Park, playing Hercules, sits down to lunch while the crew nibbles on tiny Italian portions. Reg's plate, grilled steak, a mountain of potatoes, vegetables, and next to it all, a glass of milk. Not a small glass, a pint, and that's just lunch. By the end of the day, Reg will have consumed 8 pints of whole milk. Add to that a dozen eggs, multiple steaks, orange juice, protein powders, wheat germ, and liver tablets. His secret wasn't complexity. It was scale. Reg understood something simple. If you want to be big, you have to eat big. No tricks, no cycling, just relentless consumption of whole, simple foods. Milk was his liquid mass gainer decades before the supplement industry invented the term. Eggs were his protein. Steak was his strength. When he bulked, he ate more. When he cut for Hercules films, he ate the same foods, just less of them. The menu never changed. Only the portions. Other actors on those sword and sandal sets would stare at Reg's lunch like it was a feast for 3 people. To Reg, it was just Tuesday. His secret was the unapologetic appetite, the willingness to drink milk until his stomach hurt, to eat steak until his jaw was tired, to treat food like fuel, not entertainment. And when you saw him on screen, golden and massive, you were looking at the result of thousands of pints of milk, consumed 1 glass at a time. Number 7, Bill Pearl's vegetarian heresy. Venice Beach, late 1960s. Bill Pearl walks into a diner filled with bodybuilders, destroying steaks and burger platters. Bill orders eggs, toast, and a salad. No meat. Hasn't touched it in years. The room goes quiet. In an era where steak was religion and protein meant animal flesh, Bill Pearl committed heresy. He became a vegetarian. Not vegan. He still ate eggs and dairy, but he gave up chicken, beef, fish, everything the other champions lived on. His secret wasn't just what he stopped eating. It was proving it didn't matter. Bill won the Mr. Universe title multiple times, built one of the most aesthetic physiques in history, and did it on eggs, milk, legumes, lentils, beans, whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. He was calm about it, philosophical, never preachy, but his body made the argument for him. While others wolfed down 4 steaks a day, Bill ate quietly, carefully, measuring his calories, for bulking around 3,500, for cutting around 2,500. Consistency over extremes, patience over panic. When people asked how he got so big without meat, Bill would smile that gentle, knowing smile and say, "The body just needs nutrients, doesn't care where they come from." It was almost Buddhist, and it drove the steak and eggs crowd crazy. Because Bill's secret exposed an uncomfortable truth. Maybe it wasn't the meat. Maybe it was a discipline all along. Number 8, Arnold Schwarzenegger's 5-meal machine. A tiny apartment in Santa Monica, 1969. Arnold Schwarzenegger wakes before dawn, cracks 3 eggs into a pan, boils oatmeal, pours orange juice and milk. Breakfast. 2 hours later, between morning and afternoon training. Chicken breast sandwich, fruit, more milk. Lunch. Mid-afternoon, nuts, cheese, fruit. Snack. Evening, steak or chicken, potatoes, vegetables. Dinner. Before bed, something small, maybe eggs, maybe cottage cheese. 5 to 6 meals a day, every day, no exceptions. Arnold's secret wasn't exotic foods. It was relentless structure. Most bodybuilders ate when they were hungry. Arnold ate when clock said to. The foods were basic: red meat, eggs, milk, whole grains, but the system was iron. Each meal was a brick. By the end of the day, he'd built a wall. In those early years, before movie trailers and catered sets, Arnold lived on his routine in cheap apartments, cooking on hot plates, drinking milk straight from the carton, eating steak at midnight if that's what the schedule demanded. Later, when he became the biggest star in bodybuilding and in Hollywood, the meals got fancier, but the structure stayed the same. 5 to 6 times a day. Protein, carbs, consistency, no drama, no magic, just a machine running, day after day, meal after meal, until the Austrian kid with the impossible dream became the most famous bodybuilder who ever lived. The secret was showing up to the table the same way he showed up to the gym. On time, every time, no excuses. Number 9, Frank Zane's liver tablet ritual. A small kitchen, late evening, somewhere in California. Frank Zane sits at a table with a notebook, a food scale, and a bottle of desiccated liver tablets. He's counting. Not just calories, macros, portions, timing, everything. Frank's secret was treating diet like mathematics. Each meal an equation that had to balance perfectly. While other bodybuilders chase size, Frank chased leanness, proportion, the perfect ratio between muscle and definition. His weapon. Lower carb dieting when leaning out, and almost religious devotion to liver tablets. Those dark, chalky pills that tasted like iron and earth. Super concentrated sources of B12, iron, protein. Frank believed. He'd take them by the handful, washing them down with water, his face expressionless. The other guys at Gold's thought it was overkill. Frank didn't care. He was building something different. Not a mass monster, but a living anatomy chart. Every muscle visible, separated. defined. His meals were moderate: lean proteins, measured carbs, careful fats. Grilled fish with a notebook next to the plate. Oatmeal weighed to gram. Every decision deliberate, calculated, refined. Frank's secret wasn't passion. It was precision, the cold, exacting arithmetic behind an artistic physique. When he stepped on stage and won Mr. Olympia 3 times, people saw poetry. Frank saw math. And those liver tablets, bitter, unpleasant, unglamorous, were part of the formula, the secret ingredient that tasted like sacrifice. Number 10, Mike Mentzer's carb betrayal. 1978, Gold's Gym. The rumor spreads like wildfire. Mike Mentzer is eating pasta. Not just a little, making it the majority of his diet. While champions like Robbie Robinson and Frank Zane cut carbs to get shredded, Mike is loading them. 50 to 60% of his calories from carbohydrates, even during contest prep. And his protein? 70 grams per day. The other bodybuilders hear this and laugh. 70 grams? For a 200-pound champion? It's insanity. It's betrayal. It goes against everything Vince Gironda taught, everything the Iron Guru preached. But Mike doesn't care. He's thinking, calculating, reading research nobody else bothers with. His secret is intellectual rebellion, the willingness to look at sacred cows and call them myths. High protein is overrated, he argues. Carbs fuel intensity. Your body doesn't need 6 meals a day. It needs fewer meals with more calories. He's counting macros before macros became a thing. And when Mike steps on stage in '79, his physique is full, hard, and symmetrical. The whispers get louder. Maybe he's onto something. Maybe the steak and eggs crowd has been wrong. Some trainers call him dangerous. Some call him a prophet. But Mike's secret is already out. He proved you could challenge bodybuilding's nutritional religion and still win. It nearly cost him his reputation. But decades later, when flexible dieting and higher carb approaches became mainstream, people finally understood. Mike Mentzer wasn't crazy. He was just early, and he paid the price for being right too soon. Number 11, Steve Reeves' Mediterranean Simplicity. California, 1950. Steve Reeves sits in a sun-drenched kitchen, eating a salad that looks more like art than bodybuilding fuel. Fresh vegetables, olive oil, whole grains, lean meat, fruit. No white sugar, no white flour. Just clean, natural food that could have come from a Greek island. Steve's secret was refusing to make it complicated. 3 meals a day, not 6. 60% carbs, 20% protein, 20% fat, balanced, simple, Mediterranean, while other bodybuilders obsessed over exact protein counts. Steve ate by feel, trusting his body to tell him what it needed. His strangest trick? The day before philosophy. He believed the food you ate the day before a workout mattered more than what you ate the day of. So he'd load up on complex carbs, brown rice, whole wheat pasta, potatoes, 24 hours in advance, letting his body stockpile energy. Morning of training, a honey and lemon drink for natural energy. That's it. No pre-workout powders. No stimulants. Just honey, lemon, and the fuel he'd stored yesterday. When Steve leaned out for Hercules films, he didn't change the menu. He just ate less of the same clean foods. His physique became the gold standard. Natural, aesthetic, timeless. And his diet was the same. So simple it felt revolutionary. The secret wasn't in some exotic trick. It was in the sunshine and olive oil, in trusting that real food, eaten consistently, was enough. Steve Reeves looked like a Greek god because he ate like one, and he did it without ever overthinking it. Number 12, Chuck Sipes' Raw Milk and 4 Steaks. A Northern California gym, early morning. Chuck Sipes unpacks his lunch pail. Inside, 4 steaks wrapped in wax paper, still cold from the icebox. By the end of the day, all 4 will be gone. Add to that a full egg meal, and at least a quart of raw milk, sometimes 3 quarts if he's pushing for size. Chuck's secret is blue-collar simplicity in its purest form. No lab-engineered proteins. No exotic meats. Just steaks, eggs, milk, liver tablets, whole grain bread, and the belief that eating like a hard-working man builds a hard-working body. In an era starting to whisper about shortcuts, Chuck stayed natural, stayed simple. After each meal, He'd sit quietly, sometimes 20 minutes, letting his body digest in peace. Relaxation aids digestion, he'd say, like some old country wisdom passed down from his grandfather. The young guys were impatient. Chuck was patient. His secret wasn't speed. It was trust. Trust that if you ate real food, trained hard, and let your body do its work without interference, size would come. No magic. No pills beyond basic protein and liver. Just meat and milk, consumed with the steady faith of a man who never doubted the obvious. When Chuck walked into that gym with his lunch pail, he looked like a logger. When he walked out, he looked like a god. The stakes were the bridge between those two things. Number 13, Robbie Robinson's 4-steak declaration. Gold's Gym, mid-1970s. Robbie Robinson makes a claim that sounds like bragging. He could live on 4 steaks a day with almost no carbs. Other bodybuilders roll their eyes. But Robbie isn't joking. He'd tell clients, dead serious, 1 pound of steak and 6 eggs cooked in butter, twice a day, and watch your body transform. It sounded extreme. It worked. But Robbie's real secret came later. The evolution from 4 big meals to 8 compact ones. By the 80s, he'd restructured everything. Small, dense portions every few hours. Lean beef, chicken, eggs, fish, and vegetables in armies. Each meal was a tight fist of nutrition, precisely timed. While others ate 3 times and called it discipline, Robbie ate 8 times and called it strategy. The body needed constant feeding. He believed, not 3 big events. 8 opportunities to build, recover, grow. And water, gallons of it. He'd walk around Gold's with a jug, preaching hydration like a prophet in the desert. The young guys thought it was excessive. The young guys weren't winning shows. Robbie's secret was treating his body like a fire that needed constant stoking. Let it burn low, and you'd lose momentum. Keep feeding it small amounts all day long, and it would rage. His physique, dense, hard, perfectly conditioned, was proof. The 4 steaks were the legend. The 8 meals were the truth. And together, they made the Black Prince untouchable. Number 14, Tom Platz's Ice Cream Chaos. A Venice apartment, off-season 1979. Tom Platz opens a freezer and pulls out a pint of ice cream. It's not a cheat meal. It's part of the plan. The same plan that includes eggs, toast, massive bowls of oatmeal, fibers, vegetables, and a full cup of almonds. All in one day. People think it's a joke when they see Tom's meal plans written out. Ice cream and almonds in the same diet? It's chaos. But Tom understands something others don't. Legs that squat 500 pounds for 23 reps need chaos-level calories. Clean food, dirty food, it doesn't matter. You need everything. The ice cream isn't a reward. It's fuel. Dense, fast-absorbing, unashamed fuel. But then contest prep arrives, and Tom flips like a switch. The ice cream vanishes. The almonds disappear. What remains? Mountains of broccoli. Chicken, carefully timed carbs. The suffering is legendary. Tom's secret is a pendulum, swinging wildly between abundance and deprivation, never living in the boring middle. Most men can't handle that psychologically. Most men need consistency, moderation, safety. Tom thrives on extremes. The ice cream builds the wheels. The broccoli reveals them. Both are brutal in their own way. And when Tom steps on stage, legs striated and inhuman, people see the broccoli. They never see the pints of ice cream that came before. But Tom remembers. Every spoonful, every wild, chaotic calorie. That was his secret. Being willing to embrace the madness. Number 15, Samir Banout's zero-carb fade. Beirut, childhood. Samir Banout grows up with color. Middle Eastern spices, olive oil, warm pita, lamb, vibrant salads. Family meals that smell like home. Fast forward to 1983. A Los Angeles apartment, weeks before the Olympia. Samir stares at his plate. Plain chicken breast. No rice. No bread. No color. He's gone full zero-carb, and it feels like betraying everything he grew up with. His off-season diet was beautiful. Balanced fats and carbs, chicken, fish, lean beef, liver, fruits, vegetables, all the nutrients a body needs. But now, in these final brutal weeks, the Lebanese flavors have faded. Only meat remains. mostly chicken and fish, unseasoned, plain as punishment. No starches, no sugar, just protein, water, and carefully manipulated salt. His secret is the emotional toll of that transition, going from meals that celebrated life to meals that only celebrated leanness. Other bodybuilders cut carbs without a second thought. For Samir, it's cultural amputation. Every bland chicken breast is a step further from home, but he does it anyway, because the Olympia matters more than comfort. The night he wins, beating everyone, his physique looks carved from stone. Someone hands him a plate of real food, rice, vegetables, flavor. Samir takes a bite and closes his eyes. The colors return. The spices come back. He's human again. But for those weeks, he lived in black and white. And that sacrifice, that willingness to strip away everything familiar, was a secret nobody saw. Number 16, Ed Corney's Coffee and Fish Precision, a small kitchen contest prep, late 1970s. Ed Corney broils a piece of fish, no butter, no oil, just heat and protein. Next to his plate, black coffee and a salad. That's it. In the off-season, Ed ate balanced meals, milk, red meat, white meat, eggs, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts. He was conscious of vitamins, amino acids, B-complex, vitamin E. But as shows approached, he began the narrowing process. First the red meat disappeared, then the dairy, then complex carbs, until finally he was down to this: broiled fish, broiled skinless chicken, salads, water, black coffee. Ed's secret was cooking method. Everything broiled lightly to preserve nutrients, while others fried or grilled heavily. Ed believed in gentleness. The food was already restricted. Why damage what little remained? His real genius was diet for endurance. Ed wasn't just building muscle. He was fueling those legendary posing routines, flowing balletic, holding positions under hot lights while competitors cramped and quit. 200 grams of protein, 150 to 200 grams of carbs, desiccated liver tablets, multivitamins, amino acids, every element calculated to support not just appearance, but performance. When you watched Ed pose, you were watching fuel become art. The coffee kept him sharp, the fish kept him lean, and the precision, that obsessive attention to how food was prepared, kept him on stage longer than anyone else. His secret was understanding that diet wasn't just about looking good standing still. It was about having the strength to move like poetry. Number 17, Bertle Fox's Born Brutality. The gym nickname, Brutal Bertle. The meals, equally brutal in their repetition. Day after day, year after year, the same massive plates. Lean beef, chicken breasts, rice, potatoes, green vegetables. High protein, moderate carbs, low fat. No cycling, no tricks, no exotic meats or zero-carb experiments. Just industrial consumption of clean food, executed with the personality of a machine. While others chased novelty, horse meat, tuna-only diets, cream-based shakes, Bertle showed up at Gold with Tupperware containers stacked like bricks. His secret was discipline so boring it became heroic. Most men can handle 1 week of that eating. 1 month if they're dedicated. Bertle did it for years. The gym was theater. The kitchen was religion. No cheat meals worth gossiping about. No fancy supplement stacks to brag about. Just a man and his conviction that if you eat enough clean food consistently, without drama or deviation, your body has no choice but to grow. The word brutal fit him perfectly, not because his diet was painful, but because it was uncompromising. Every meal the same, every day the same. For years, that's not a trick, that's a lifestyle. When Bertle stepped on stage, massive and conditioned, people wondered what his secret was. The secret was there was no secret, just food, eaten the same way, forever. Most people can't accept that answer. They want magic. Bertle gave the math, and it was brutal in its honesty. Number 18, Chris Dickerson's Broil Refinement. An apartment far from Gold's chaos. Chris Dickerson stands in his kitchen, broiling fish with the care of a watchmaker. No shortcuts, no heavy oils, light heat, preserving every nutrient. Around him, notebooks tracking vitamins, amino acids, how each food is prepared. Chris approaches diet like a Renaissance painter approaches a canvas, layer by layer, each choice deliberate, building toward a final vision only he can see. Off-season, his palate is full. Milk products, red meat, white meat, eggs, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds. But as the show approaches, he begins removing colors. First red meat, then dairy, then complex carb. Each week, the diet narrows, until finally, those last brutal weeks. Broiled fish, broiled skinless chicken, salads, water, black coffee. Nothing else. His secret is progressive refinement, not violent deprivation. Other men slash their diets with panic. Chris narrows his with patience, like a sculptor removing marble chips, one at a time, revealing the form hidden beneath. Each meal cooked gently, each portion measured. By contest day, the masterpieces already finished. The diet did its work weeks ago. When Chris steps on stage, people see art. They don't see the months of gradual reduction, the quiet discipline of removing one ingredient at a time, trusting that less will reveal more. That was his secret. Understanding that perfection isn't built with extremes. It's built with precision, patience, and the courage to trust the process even when progress feels invisible. Number 19. Lou Ferrigno's scaled-up simplicity. A kitchen in Brooklyn, early 1970s. Lou Ferrigno sits down to breakfast. 6 whole eggs, toast, fruit. 2 hours later, another meal. Steak and salad. Mid-afternoon, tuna with oatmeal and applesauce. Evening, grilled chicken, baked potatoes. Before bed, eggs and cottage cheese. 4 to 5 high-protein meals a day, every day. Lou's secret isn't complexity. It's scale. The foods are the same ones his neighbors eat. Eggs, steak, chicken, potatoes, oatmeal, cottage cheese. Lou just eats more. A lot more. While a normal person has 2 eggs, Lou has 6. While someone else has a chicken breast, Lou has 2, plus a mountain potatoes. This is golden era eating taken to its logical conclusion. Not weird foods, just more of everything. For the Hulk roll and contest prep, Lou had to stay big but camera lean, high protein, controlled carbs, almost no junk. The discipline was in maintaining that eating while the cameras rolled, while the makeup took hours, while everyone else snacked on craft services. Lou's secret was appetite matched with consistency. He could eat like a giant because he was a giant, but he ate clean like a champion because that's what the stage demanded. No exotic tricks. No mysterious formulas, just the basic golden era foods, meat, eggs, potatoes, oatmeal, consumed in Hulk-sized portions, meal after meal, year after year. When people asked Lou how he got so big, the answer was boring. I ate. A lot. That's it. The secret was there was barely a secret. Just size meeting discipline, and food consumed with the same intensity he brought to everything else. Number 20. Sergio Oliva's Cuban memory. Havana, 1961. A young Sergio Oliva eats 1 meal a day. Ration, sparse, never enough. That's life before the defection, before the run through gunfire, before Chicago and the steel mills in America. Flash forward, a diner in the Midwest. Sergio sits in front of a plate piled with chicken, beef, rice, vegetables. Portions that seem impossible after years of hunger. Other bodybuilders see Sergio demolish enormous meals and think it's appetite. They don't understand its memory. His secret isn't written in any nutrition book. It's psychological. Every full plate is a victory over the ghost of that single ration back in Cuba. The diet itself is simple. High-protein meats, complex carbs like brown rice and sweet potatoes, plenty of produce. But the way Sergio eats, the intensity, the gratitude, the way he finishes every bite, that comes from somewhere deeper. You can't teach that. You can't bottle it. You either lived through hunger or you didn't. Sergio did. And every meal in America, for the rest of his life, carried the weight of that memory. When he became Mr. Olympia, the greatest bodybuilder of his generation, people studied his training. They should have studied his dinner plate. Because Sergio's real secret was the fuel that came before the food, the knowledge of what it feels like to be empty. Once you've known true hunger, you never take another meal for granted. And when you train with that kind of gratitude, that kind of survival instinct, you don't just build muscle, You build legend. The shaker bottles are empty now. The diners are closed. The photographs on the wall have faded to sepia. These men, these legends who look like gods, they're mostly gone, but their secrets remain, tucked into old interview transcripts, whispered in memoirs, hidden in the margins of muscle magazines nobody reads anymore. Tonight, you learn what they really ate. The cream and eggs, the 4 steaks, the zero-carb fade, the ice cream chaos. And somewhere in an old gym that still smells like chalk and iron, another generation is learning that size isn't built with shortcuts. It's built at the table, one meal at a time, with discipline nobody sees and sacrifices nobody celebrates until decades later. The iron remembers. And so, do we.